With us on All Angles. Now, the State of the Nation address outlined an ambitious vision for economic growth, job creation and poverty alleviation. But President Cyril Ramaphosa's address fell short in directly addressing the concerns of ordinary South Africans like you and me. To discuss the financial situation of citizens, which plagues us all, we're joined by Debt Rescue's Annaline van der Poel. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Annaline. Now, you and I have spoken many times about the situation of the average South African household. And I suppose we were all wanting to hear something more tangible from the president as to how do we alleviate these financial pressures on households, right?
Good afternoon. Absolutely, yes. Detail is what we are so desperately in need of. We need to know the detail. It's really ambitious. It's wonderful that all these plans exist, but what do they mean? How are they going to be implemented? And ultimately, how are they going to affect us in a positive manner for a change where we actually start seeing the impact on us financially?
And what would those immediate solutions look like, Annaline?
Well, unfortunately, I think immediate solutions are something that are very difficult to achieve because these are things that should have been worked on a couple of years ago already. And the biggest of which is investment into this country, stabilizing our infrastructure, and ultimately making sure that through that we have job creation. Our biggest problem we have right now is a lack of job creation and our massive unemployment figures. And what this means is that we have so many South Africans unemployed, unfortunately, with no alternative but to rely on government grants, and we know the absolute importance of them, but it's not sustainable. And by job creation, it means that ultimately South Africans can become financially independent, etc. And the more we see the stagnation in economic growth, it means that for us as average South Africans, things just continue to get more expensive. We know that electricity is going up soon. Petrol keeps going up every month. There's just no anything tangible happening now. And unfortunately, short-term solutions are few and far between and are not going to be significant. These are things that should have been worked on for years already.
What about financial education, Annaline? Because since the pandemic, for example, many of us have increasingly relied on debt to get by. If my salary is not going to sustain me through the month, I can just go get a bridging loan somewhere and I'll figure out the payments later. And then you fall into a deep pit where it's either you're getting blacklisted or you're in severe financial strain. How big a role does financial education play here to say loans aren't the way to bridge the gap between expenses and having some disposable income?
No, I think, as with probably any country, there'll always be the opportunity to enhance and improve our financial education. Definitely. There's definitely always that opportunity. I think also we have to be realistic about what is the root cause as to why are consumers doing this. And this is no longer a case of South Africans sitting in a situation where they're using these funds because they splurged on some luxury and therefore they're short now and they're taking this loan. It's because there is just more money or more month than there is money. They're not making it to the next payday because they're having to buy food on credit. They're having to buy, pay for the utilities on credit, put petrol in their car on credit, because they are not able to sustain their normal living expenses. We're not even talking luxuries or luxurious lifestyles or anything. It's just debt is expensive. The cost of living is expensive and people are just unable to make it through. So yes, financial literacy is critical. And one of the probably for us, the most important ones is for South Africans to know that they do have rights and that one of these rights comes in the form of debt counseling if you're over indebted and you've made all these changes. That is a fundamental thing we still think that not enough consumers know of, understand, etc. But in terms of overspending, etc., and the implications, South Africans are doing that because they have no choice.
They have no choice indeed. Very finally and briefly, if you could, Annaline, the outlook for 2025, given the electricity tariff hikes that we've seen, the likelihood that the SARB is going to slow down on cutting interest rates because of the Trump uncertainty. What is the outlook for the average household given these new challenges that have come into the space?
Unfortunately, not great. At best the same as what we've seen last year, but very, very likely it might get even worse. We've got to be, like you've just said, we were hoping for more interest rate reductions. If we're lucky, we might see another one towards the latter part of this year. We desperately need to see that. Yes, inflation has slowed down, but things are still getting more expensive every single month. We've got the electricity hike coming. So looking at where we are sitting right now and with the information we have at hand, unfortunately, it's not a very bright picture for us as consumers.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Annaline van der Poel joining us this afternoon to speak about some tangible steps that President Ramaphosa could have touched on at the State of the Nation address to address the cost of living crisis in South Africa. We